Hi, welcome to The Road Home to You. Thank you for joining Matt and I during our summer series that we're calling Lessons from the Road. We really appreciate you guys as you listen in every single week and take part in this journey alongside us. Without further ado, here's Matt.
Hello, and welcome to what is likely the last of the mini episodes that I will be doing by myself, at least for now. Brandy and I have had a great time going through some of the more prominent road trips in the Bible. Today, I wanted to talk about Abraham and his trip with his son Isaac to Mount Moriah. Many of you are going to know exactly the story that I'm going through, but for those of you who might not be so familiar with this particular story, I'll try to give you a little bit of a background. So Abraham, by the time he's even mentioned in the Bible, the first time we actually meet Abraham, he's already 75 years old. And God makes some promises to Abraham. God had promised that he would be the father of a great nation, and that his descendants would be as numberless as the dust of the earth. But here's the catch. Abraham, by the time we meet him, was childless and over 75 years old when this promise was made. Already, this is looking a little bit improbable. And then, God doesn't fulfill his promise of a child born to Abraham and his wife Sarah until Abraham was 100 years old. I can't even imagine trying to raise a child at 100 years old. That just sounds, well, exhausting and maybe a little terrible. But Abraham and Sarah had been waiting a really, really long time for this. So, maybe they just spoiled him like crazy. I mean, they had to be not only parents to him, but at this point, they're also almost like grandparents to him. Here's the thing. Abraham, at this point in his life, at 100, is a very wealthy and powerful man. He has a lot of servants, and he's got herds of animals. And in his day, he was counted a wealthy man. But I get the impression, and I think Scripture bears this out, that he would just consider it all completely inconsequential next to having his son Isaac. So then, God talks to him a few years later and says to him, "Take your son, your only son, Isaac, whom you love, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains I will tell you about." I can't even imagine what would have been going through his brain at that point. I mean, the gut punch that would have been to take this son that he'd been waiting for so long and was so very precious to him, and to have God say, "All right, well, now you're going to go sacrifice him and burn him on an altar." Wow. And yet, in the Bible, as we look at this account, Abraham doesn't even question God. He doesn't, ask for clarifications on the subject or anything like that. He doesn't respond back other than it says, the very next day, early in the morning, Abraham saddled his donkey and prepared to leave. So he didn't even hesitate. And I know for myself, had this been me, had it been the thing that was the most precious to me, as Isaac was to Abraham, I don't know, I can't help but think that I would hesitate and say, well, maybe I misunderstood, or maybe I didn't really hear that right. I'm just going to wait and wait for God to confirm the word that he said. 'Cause, I wouldn't want to mess this up, right? But Abraham didn't do that. He didn't question. He didn't argue. He didn't do anything other than to respond and do exactly what God wanted him to do.